Welcome to the show, Mr. Dan Geltrude. Dan, great idea. Make Thanksgiving affordable again. But it was interesting. Last week, we actually did a story that the American Farm Bureau came out and said, now, for a meal of 10 people, it should be $58. Now, I think that's if you're growing your own carrots and growing, you have your own turkeys. But you made some great suggestions. Why don't you tell us what they are?
Sure. Well, first, let's keep in mind, Scott, that Thanksgiving is still a heck of a lot more expensive than it was 4 years ago. But this year, it may not be so bad. So can we hit that number? I'm not so sure, but we'll try to get close. So here's what you got to do. First thing, plan ahead. So set a budget. And when you go shopping, make sure you have the list. Do not get involved in those emotional purchases that we all get pulled into. That's first. Second, let's focus in on the essentials, right? So you want to simplify the menu, and I know you're not going to like this one, Scott, but I'm going to say it. Cut back on the alcohol. That's where you start. That's where you start spending some money, my friend. Right. Next, let's look at the coupons, sales. There's a lot of deals out there. How about sharing the responsibilities? A lot of families out there doing that potluck style dinner, which definitely helps defray those costs. This next one, tough for Italians such as me. Be mindful of the portions, right? You know how many people are in your group? Cook for that group size. Italians have a tendency to go way overboard, which means you're going to blow that budget. And finally, modify the turkey. Look, there's always a lot of leftovers, so perhaps buy a smaller turkey or just try the turkey breast. Those are ways, Scott, we could make Thanksgiving affordable again.
Yeah, I mean, you make some great points there. I think I like the idea, too. I don't know if I heard you say it or not, but about the idea about coupons and stuff like that. That's also something that, I don't know if you got anything to say about that, but that's also another great thing that I don't think about. We do a lot of ours online now, and it's a little bit harder to use those coupons, but that's a great idea, too. And so you can work on, if you're good at it, I'm sure you can work on getting that meal down to a reasonable level.
Well, yeah, look, you could look at places like Costco where if you're going to buy in bulk for a group, you may be able to get the cost down there. There's also loyalty programs out there, Scott, so you want to take a look at where do you normally shop, right? And those places tend to reward people around the holidays. So, look, it's all about being mindful. If you're really focused in on we have a budget, and let's just round it off and say we're going to try to do it for $6 a person, you can get there. You can absolutely get there. You may not have every single thing you want, but you could certainly work it around in terms of working backwards and come in on budget.
Yeah, and to your point, the American Farm Bureau also did come out and say that that's 5% lower than last year, but nowhere near what it was in 2022 when it was well over $60 for 10 people. So, yeah, things are... as we talk about inflation, the prices were still rising, generally speaking, but just at a slower rate. And to that point, what are your thoughts on, real quick, the new administration? I've been on this horse of I want to give them some time. I don't think you can fix anything in the time frame. I think the markets think that they're going to fix things. I don't know. I feel like expectations are way out ahead of reality. What are your thoughts? It took us 4 years to get into this mess. We're not going to get out of it in 4 weeks.
Well, there's no doubt about that. The markets have very high expectations, Scott. We're seeing that almost every day. There's a lot of optimism, and I can understand why. Things have been pretty tough the last 4 years, and now we have the American people who have spoken up for change, and they're saying, hey, listen, let's try a different path because this way is not working. Inflation has been a killer. If you ask me, that is really what's cost the Democrats this election. They were tone deaf to how much people are hurting financially, and that's why people voted the way they did, Scott.
Yeah, and that one message, and I think a few of them now have really kind of owned up to it. I talk about it every Monday, it seems like, because I watch those weekend shows when you have the pundits from other networks to compete with me telling you that prices are coming down because inflation is coming down. That means that they don't understand inflation. If inflation is coming down, that just means the rate of change to higher prices is slowing down. Your prices aren't going to get cheaper until they talk about deflation, right?
Right, and I don't think that we're anywhere near a deflationary environment, and I'm not so sure we're ever going to get there. Look, a lot of the things Trump is talking about is not going to automatically bring inflation down. He's going to need some time for his policies to work their way through the system. I believe he's going to need at least 2 years and maybe all 4 of these years to really get things to where we could be, let's say, even more optimistic than we feel now.
Well, I'm glad. We all feel like the piano's been taken off our back. I feel that as well, too. Thank you very much, Dan Geltrude, coming to us from Nutley, New Jersey. Have a great Thanksgiving, and to all your family as well. Thank you very much for being